Today on Hampton Roads Business Weekly, go inside a 72,000 square foot facility in Virginia Beach specializing in making high-end tactical gear. Plus, overcoming entrepreneurial terrors. And a new website that will unleash your inner graphic artist. It's all next on Hampton Roads Business Weekly.
Hello, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan, and this is Hampton Roads Business Weekly, an in-depth look at our local business community.
Today we are continuing our look at financing, specifically accounting. For some, accounting can be a four-letter word, but I spoke with Paul DiNardo, a CPA, on why it's essential for business owners. All right, Paul, so you are an accountant, a partner at WEC, which stands for what?
Wallline Horn Insurance, sir.
Now, this whole month we're talking about ways to improve your financing, and as being a part of an accounting firm, a CPA firm, let's start with what is the difference between an accountant and a CPA?
An accountant can be anybody who claims to be an accountant, whether they have formal training or not. A CPA is required to have formal training, pass a very rigorous exam, and maintain his training through annual education credits.
Gotcha. So when you're starting or growing a business, obviously knowing where your money is extremely important. What are maybe the top three things for a new or growing business to do to manage cash flow?
Well, I think it's when you have your own business, you got to make sure that you've got the proper controls in place. Typically, if it's a small business, the business owner would be in charge of that. Make sure you're accounting for your income and expenses properly, because at the end of the year when you do your tax return, a tax return isn't that difficult, but fixing a set of books can be a lot more difficult.
So how does one manage their books, and what does that exactly mean?
Well, in the simplest forms, if somebody has a fairly basic business, it could be as simple as having a check register. Making sure you're tracking the income and the expenses, and at the end of the year you could probably track your expenses on an Excel spreadsheet, and if it's organized, the tax return will be very easy to do. But if you have a box of paper and you're not tracking your expenses very well, it can become rather onerous.
So literally manually putting in that transaction one to one.
Yes, you want to, when you have a business, you want to make sure you segregate your business activity from your personal activity for a lot of different reasons, legal liability and for business purposes too. You want to make sure that you have an account that handles just your business activity, and then your personal account, you want to try not to commingle the activities of the two accounts.
When should someone outsource this stuff, and when should someone stick to it internally?
Probably the first thing you should consider outsourcing is payroll. If you're small, if you're a one-man shop and you don't have any employees, you can probably do it internally. But as you bring on employees, payroll can be rather onerous from an administrative side to maintain. There are a lot of companies out there for very small fees will manage your payroll reporting for you, and that can take a burden off the business owner.
Well, what about an online tool or a series of online tools that might be good to manage all those things?
Well, there are a lot of resources online. There's free software online, free bookkeeping software. Xtuple is a company here locally that has a very robust accounting system that's completely free.
All right, and so when someone is doing bookkeeping or payroll, they manage all those things, and you mentioned the word control. And so whether it's the business owner that has control over those accounts, or maybe you're a larger company or a growing company, what does that controller kind of look like?
Well, it depends on how big you are. Sometimes the receptionist is the controller at first because you only have a couple of employees, but you want somebody that understands the accounting process, somebody that understands proper segregation of duties, has an understanding of proper controls for purchase orders, approving things, making sure processes are in place. So the ultimate business owner has the ultimate decision on how his business is run financially.
What is the number one question, other than LLC, or maybe the number one disaster question that comes up where I'm here and it's not going well, and how do I recover it? What is a question like that comes up a lot?
I think a lot of times businesses don't know how they're doing. A business that is cash strapped may be doing very well from a profitability standpoint. As businesses grow, they need cash because you're billing your customer today, you're not collecting for 45 days, but you're paying your people and you're buying product today. So just because you're cash strapped doesn't mean the business is poor. It may mean that you need financing. Businesses that have matured and are sitting on a lot of cash may be facing a downturn because their expenses drop while they collect all their accounts receivable. So I think the younger companies are a bit confusing needing working capital for having a difficult or a failing business.
So try to control the company more by really managing and understanding where everything is in the company.
I think that's exactly right. I think understanding the business, and a lot of times these business owners are very good at what they do, and they should focus on where they add value. And if they're wasting their time trying to do accounting or trying to understand the other business metrics, that's when they should maybe look outside the organization for an advisor that can help them where they don't add value.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Paul.
All right.
Appreciate
Great
it.
seeing you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
See it, shoot it, share it at 13newsnow.com.
We're back with more Hampton Roads Business Weekly. As you know, running a business, being an entrepreneur can be pretty scary at times.
That's why we started a segment called Entrepreneurial Terrors. I sat down with Dr. Gregory Stone, a professor at Regent University School of Business and Leadership. We talked about what to do when you feel like you're in over your head.
So you're an established business owner, but you're staying up at night because you can't get over something. What are some triggers to get you through the night and so that you can actually sleep?
There's this phenomenon called entrepreneurial terror. It's real, it does exist, and you need to be able to understand that when you wake up at 2 a.m. and you're having an anxiety attack and there's sweat rolling down your face, and you're wondering, what have I gotten myself into? Why am I doing this? I shouldn't have maxed out my credit card to do this. This was insane. That's typical. It's not uncharacteristic, and there's a lot of people going through exactly the same thing. The person tends to think, the entrepreneur tends to think, it's just me, there's something wrong with me. When in fact, it's a typical psychological state that people go through. It can be managed, it can be dealt with. You just got to get a handle back on everything and realize that the world's not coming apart as bad as it seems at that particular point in time. Sometimes everything negative hits us all at the same time. The rent is due. I got to come in and pay for an invoice I got on inventory. Somebody got sick in my family and has to go to the doctor, and it's an expensive medical bill. And I can't pay for it with my credit card because I borrowed all the cash from it to be able to get the inventory for the business in the first place to get up and operating. And then all of a sudden that hits us at 2 a.m. when we want that good night's sleep. And
it all hits at the same time.
Oh man, it just tears us apart. And understand, after you make the first sale, maybe you had a great day of sales, maybe a great week of sales, then you're laying there at 2 a.m. You can't get back to sleep because you're so excited because this is the greatest thing I ever did. It's a roller coaster. You're up one night, down the next, up the next, down the next. Your family's looking at you like, you've lost your mind. What are we going to do? How are we going to get through this? But just understand, this is a typical way you're going to feel. It's not unusual. It's not just you. Get a handle on it, go back in, manage the things like you do every day, get a handle on it, and keep it out of the family. This is not something you go blowing through the door at the end of the day and look at your family and blow up at them or vent or share with them. You keep that to yourself, you work with it, and you work with other entrepreneurs. You talk to if you're in an incubator facility, for example, great place to talk to other entrepreneurs and find out how they dealt with it. How did you handle that? How did you work through this advertising problem? How did you work through this rent issue? And figure out a creative solution and move through it.
Find people like you, maybe join a mastermind group, a focus group of people that are like you.
Yes,
do
absolutely.
It. I like the roller coaster analogy, the highest highs, the lowest lows. Hopefully they don't all happen in the same day. You know, you get really good news at 10 a.m., then at 3 p.m. you get really bad news, so you're constantly moving with the ebbs and flows.
But don't be surprised if they do, because sometimes they might,
Sure.
But that's okay. That's part of the ride of being an entrepreneur.
So how do you manage that?
You just stay calm and understand and stay focused on your product, your service, your market, your customers, and associate yourself with those other positive entrepreneurs around you.
Sure. And so by being able to manage and stay calm when those things happen, so know that it's going to happen every day, or it's going to happen a lot, the highs, the lows. You know that those things are going to happen, and try and keep a fair playing field for it, for yourself emotionally.
Absolutely, and celebrate the victories. When you get that big sale, when you get those multiple sales, celebrate. That's the time to bring your family in, go out, celebrate the sales that you had that day, that week, that month, that year. And those are things that we tend to overlook and just kind of pass them by to go on to the next day of work, when in fact we should celebrate the successes that we have. Doesn't matter if it's a big success or a little success, any success you have in a small business is a reason for celebrating.
He created a local architect and design firm that's now servicing clients all over the country. Meet our Entrepreneur of the Week, next on Hampton Roads Business Weekly.
It's time now for our Entrepreneur of the Week. Here we highlight local business owners to learn about the problems they have faced and the advice they have for other entrepreneurs. This week, we focus on Eugene Thompson, owner and founder of Ionic Design Studios, a Virginia Beach-based architect and design firm.
As you go through the process of setting up your business, you want to network. Before I started, I really didn't network. I knew a handful of people, and I didn't know how valuable those relationships really would come to prove.
Here now with our Entrepreneur of the Week, Eugene Thompson, the owner of Ionic Design Studio in Virginia Beach. Eugene, congratulations for being Entrepreneur of the Week.
Thank you very much. Exciting.
You're an entrepreneur, an architect, and you went out on your own 15 years ago. What was the catalyst, though, to become the entrepreneur?
A leap of faith was the beginning part. Didn't really plan this. It just happened one day and decided to quit my job, wife at home with 4 kids, and she worked at home, but took a leap of faith and went out and just jumped into it, and it's been really successful.
I think that entrepreneur is the buzzword now, kind of the cool thing to do. Back then, I imagine it had to have been pretty scary. How did you make that leap and then get your first customer and then your next ones and the ones that grew your business?
It was very scary, very scary. Matter of fact, the day before I told my boss I was quitting, I went to church and asked for prayers on what I was going to do, and they all thought I was crazy, and I probably was crazy, but that's okay. Whenever I started, it was all about networking, and people that I had been with, and my kids coaching football and doing those kind of activities encouraged me. Actually, our first project was my team mom, had been my team mom for 5 years, came up and said, "I heard your news, and would you like to do a project?" And so the very first project was born. The contractor was another football coach friend of mine, and another subcontractor was another football coach. So they watched after me and made sure I didn't make too many mistakes.
I think to say that your office is cool is an understatement. So talk about the space that you've put together and then the different projects that you put together for places in town and around the country.
Sure. Well, we wanted to do something as a focal point for our designs, and so our whole philosophy is really about being playful and fun, and so we incorporated that within this design. The desk itself being a reused shipping container door, the hardware and everything that kind of went into it was used for in a way of sustainable design. The entire office has reclaimed wood, reclaimed as in the deck from my house was used for some of the pieces, just throughout the entire part to make it fun, but yet also show our design talents. And we've been able to do that with other projects throughout the country. We've actually literally have projects in Florida and in the Midwest that we've done for restaurants, retail, office buildings, and spaces like that.
I know that it's cyclical, and it had to have been rather difficult in 2007, 2008 during the Great Recession. People weren't building back then.
They weren't doing a lot at all. We were up to 11 people growing fast, and it was fantastic, wonderful. And then we dropped down to 4 people. My wife and I being 2 of the individuals who didn't take a paycheck for a long time, but we persevered and really worked hard to get it. And the clients were no longer building shopping centers for several $1 million. They were doing facelifts to existing ones for a handful of dollars. And that's where we thrived and did really well and was successful with that and helped them become successful.
Any advice for other companies that are struggling? I mean, 2007, 2008 was hard for many, many people, but it's cyclical. And so other companies are having struggles right now. So how do you get through the tough times?
Well, there is always going to be that ups and downs. And what we have found is try to be as diversified as possible. Many times people come and ask, what are your specialties? And we do a lot of restaurants, a lot of retail, but we do a little bit of everything. And we try to branch out to all those different aspects of types of projects. We're now reaching out to another area, geographical location, because we've grown really well, done really good now, but now we're pushing to open offices in Richmond and possibly Raleigh to our next space. So that it will help us continue to grow and possibly level out some of those ups and downs.
Some good words of advice. Any more? Any tips that you can share? A little bit of inspiration, which you've already shared, but any tips for anyone out there wanting to grow a business to your level, to the success?
I really think it's, as you go through the process of setting up your business, you want to network. Before I started, I really didn't network. I knew a handful of people, and I didn't know how valuable those relationships really would come to prove.
Eugene Thompson, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Stick around for more Hampton Roads Business Weekly. Learn how a local company grew from a small attic to a 72,000 square foot facility in Virginia Beach. Plus, we'll show you a new website that lets you make posters, collages, and Facebook cover photos in a snap.
Welcome back to Hampton Roads Business Weekly. I'm Cheryl Tan with the one thing entrepreneurs do that lead to their success. We're inside a 72,000 square foot facility in Virginia Beach off of London Bridge Road, and I'm happy to introduce you to Doug McDougall, the founder of London Bridge Trading Company.
Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for letting us inside your facility. I told some friends that I was coming out here, and they said, which I'm sure you always get, what goes on inside there?
It's not really secretive, but we really don't advertise of what we do.
And I know that your specialty is high-end, high-quality tactical gear. And so I think also for people who are driving by London Bridge Road, they would be surprised to note so much activity takes place inside. So what is it?
We're extremely busy in here. The types of things we make are mainly government, dealing with everything from flotation to ballistic to tactical in the field, aircraft, things that come out of aircraft, and just from a very simple pouch to a very complicated, maybe ballistic vest, just to give you a range.
You're a long-standing employer in this community, 30 plus years.
Right.
How did you get your start?
We actually started just up the road a little bit, about 500 yards, and in the process of developing, moved or expanded 7 times. As we were developing and growing, we started out with just me, and up to hundreds of people.
And how did it grow?
The one thing that really helped us was having good people. That was the one thing that really made us grow, is picking good people and sharing with them what success that we had. So that it really became a family, and we've actually had second generation, maybe even third generation people working for us.
So as it's grown, how have you, I guess, weathered the storm of economic challenges, of cutbacks?
Well, with the military sequestration, which hit us fairly hard, we started diversifying. We got more into internet sales. Our base is still military, but we expanded into other areas, mainly internet sales as well as government sales. So that allowed us to get over.
As a business owner for 30 plus years, there had to have been some challenges, maybe some mistakes. How did you overcome them? How did you get on the other side?
Well, you just have to keep going. You learn from your mistakes, just like any day-to-day. You make mistakes, but that's how you learn.
Any examples?
And we made a lot of them.
Oh, well, yeah. Any examples you care to share?
It's hard to pick out specific ones, but we have to make certain judgments of buying materials, and if you overbuy, you have extra dollars on the shelf that you can't put into something else. So you have to make some real calculated decisions and hopefully you don't make too many major mistakes. But you have to kind of eat it if you do.
Well, you've certainly grown, and the community has recognized that. Doug McDougall, thank you very much for joining us.
Glad to have you.
We have a lot more with London Bridge Trading Company, including a tour of its giant Virginia Beach facility and how the company weathered sequestration. But we're going to wait on that part of the story until next week.
Looking for a cool design or poster for your website? How about a cool cover photo for your Facebook or Twitter page? Our social marketing expert, Naoma Doraguzzi, is here with a new website that can help even the most artistically challenged.
Hi, this is Naoma Doraguzzi with AskNaoma.com, and one thing I'll never claim to be is a graphic designer. However, with social media, we're going to all need to use images in our social media posts for blogs or Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus or any of those social media profiles, but the problem is they're all different size images that you need to promote these posts. So one thing I've found is called Canva.com. It's free to sign up and use. Basically, it's going to have all these posts in the dimensions that you need for Facebook cover photos, for YouTube photos, for Instagram posts. You just upload your photo in it, and if you don't have a photo upload, they do have some stock images you can use as well. And you can add some text, add some filters, and then you download it so then it's the correct image size for you to post on your social media platforms. Again, it's called Canva.com. It's very easy to use and it's free to use, and pretty soon they're going to be launching Canva for Work, where it's going to have tons more features, so you need to sign up for that. And I'll have all that information on my website at AskNaoma.com to kind of help you out with your social media posts.
That's all for this week's Hampton Roads Business Weekly. You can find the show on Facebook and Twitter at HR Business Weekly or hrbusinessweekly.com.
For Hampton Roads Business Weekly, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. We'll see you next week.